Hey there, Greg Paskal here. Hey, have you ever had to update an automated test script and it was so complicated to understand that you considered maybe I should just rewrite this thing from scratch? Yeah, we've all been there and probably have rewritten some test cases from scratch because of it. You know, the steps were so codified, so complicated, you needed a master's degree just to determine, is this thing even logging into an application? What's going on here? What's this script for? Where in the world's the manual test case? And is anything actually getting tested here at all? Let's explore this further in this episode of Craft of Testing. Today's tip's going to help ensure that you write maintainable and sustainable automated test scripts. First of all, let's begin with a manual test case, or a test script as some of us call it. Whether you're responsible for testing or writing automation, or probably both, have a written test case to build your automation off of. I know some of you are cringing at that thought. This will really help you out a lot. You know what? It enables others to come along behind you and they have a reference now to go back to if the automated test isn't working proper. It's a fantastic resource. They can go back and say, oh, I see, this step is failing. They might even perform the manual test steps and see, hey, something's changed in the application flow. And now I need to go ahead and update the manual test case and then the automation. Another part of it is go ahead and name your automated test following the same naming convention as your manual test. You know, why should this require you to have a secret decoder ring, right? It should be pretty easy to determine, I have this manual test case called verify a item can be purchased in the cart. And lo and behold, there's an automated test called verify item can be purchased from the cart. You know, they should be in sync one-to-one. It shouldn't be that difficult. As a rule of thumb, I generally go with this idea that for every manual test step, there's an equivalent automated test step, right? One for one. That's what's so nice about having that manual test case is you can go right down that manual test case and see the automated test steps line directly up. Remember that when you're writing this automation, you know that it's going to be updated down the road. There's going to be modifications. So by having that manual test case to go back to allows you again to have a point of reference to ensure everything's working as expected. Now, I wanted to cover this point because it gets brought up a lot. I get asked it all the time, and it's something I have to be prepared to communicate on, and that is a concept called dry coding. Now, if you haven't heard the term dry, it stands for do not repeat yourself. And it's really popular in application development and other places. But personally, I don't think it should be applied in automated testing at all. Yeah, we're writing code, but this code is a different kind of code. This code is intended that it's going to be edited and updated and modified pretty often. When you begin to use dry approaches, which are using fantastic programming techniques of methods and functions and, you know, taking code that's repeating and stick it off into a library, it's using these principles, but it often hides the functionality that's actually getting tested. And so I call that over-abstraction. And if you over-abstract your automated tests, you actually make them more difficult to maintain in the long run. You take away the sustainability from it. So consider that. I'd like you to really dig in. I've even written a whole chapter in my book, Test Automation in the Real World, on this very topic of over-abstraction. So if you want to read more on it, check out that chapter in the book. So you continue going through following the manual test case. Remember, one manual test step, one automated test step. Just keep lining them up one for one. And there's a great thing you can do at the end of that automated test development. It's kind of another one of these go-tos. Like I talked before about the 5 times test, this is right up there with it. Go ahead and bring someone, maybe the manual test engineer, or maybe someone that's not on your test team, and have them look at your automated test script and ask them, could you perform the test case just by looking at this test script code? If you follow that process of one step equals one automated test step, or one manual step to one automated test step, it should be so obvious and easy to do. All the parameters are right there and everything. If they shouldn't have any need to know any kind of coding experience at all, to dig into methods or any of that, if you've done it right. So I'd love to leave you with that challenge. That this idea that anybody should be able to look at your automated test script and be able to perform the manual test case. So Let's review a little bit. Remember that start with a manual test case, and if you don't have one, create one. Name your automated test after your manual test. For every manual test step, have one automated test step. And if it's done well, a test engineer or someone else, maybe even less technical than that, should be able to execute the manual test case simply by looking at your automated test code. All right, so let's button things up. Start applying the simple approach to your automation, ensuring it's really easy to maintain in the future. This approach really shows maturity and growth and will set your team apart for the important work that you do. So until next time, this is Greg Paskal, encouraging you to pursue the craft of testing well. Bye for now. I would love to connect with you, so feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm very easy to find at Greg Paskal on LinkedIn. For those of you who are in the automation world, take a look at my book, Test Automation in the Real World. You can find more about that at realworldtestautomation.com.